When Jason Miller came home that Wednesday at 3 p.m., something he hadn't done in 5 years, he heard music. Frank Sinatra. It was coming from his Uncle Albert's room, but that was impossible. Mr. Albert hadn't been able to move on his own for 4 years. The tremors were so severe, he couldn't even hold a glass of water. Parkinson's had turned him into a prisoner in his own body. Who had turned on the music? And why? Jason froze in the hallway. The voice of Frank Sinatra filled the house. "Fly Me to the Moon," his late Aunt Rose's favorite song. Nobody in that house listened to Sinatra. Not since Aunt Rose passed away 6 years ago. And Mr. Albert definitely couldn't put on music by himself. If you've ever felt like the world keeps spinning while you're just existing, then stick around. Because what you're about to hear will change how you see the invisible people who pass through your life every day. Jason Miller, 52 years old, CEO of Tech Forward Solutions, the biggest tech company in the state, 840 employees, $200 million in annual revenue, 14-hour workdays, 6 days a week, and 20 minutes on Sundays to visit his Uncle Albert. Exactly 20 minutes. He'd arrive at 11 a.m., ask how he was doing, check that he had everything he needed, talk to the caregiver, pay the medical bills, and leave by 11:20, watch in hand. Because at 11:30, he had calls with investors from New York, on Sundays too. Millionaires don't rest, he'd say. But what Jason didn't know was that he was about to discover there are things more valuable than calls with New York. Mr. Albert Miller, 74 years old, retired aeronautical engineer, 40 years designing airplanes for Boeing. A brilliant man. The kind of engineer who could calculate trajectories in his head while others needed computers. The older brother of Jason's father, the uncle who took him to museums when he was a kid, who taught him to see the stars, who explained how airplanes worked, who told him, "Jason, your mind can build whatever your imagination can dream." That Mr. Albert. Now he couldn't hold a spoon. 9 years with Parkinson's. The first 5 years were manageable. Mild tremors, occasional stiffness, medication that worked. But the last 4 years, advanced stage 4, the doctors said. That means freezing, sudden freezing of the body. You're walking and suddenly your feet don't respond. You're paralyzed, as if someone hit pause on your life. Bradykinesia, extremely slow movement. Lifting an arm can take 30 seconds. Muscle rigidity, like your joints are made of concrete. And the tremors, God, the tremors. The hands, the arms, sometimes the whole body. 4 to 6 hertz frequency. Constant, relentless. Mr. Albert couldn't eat alone. He couldn't dress himself. He couldn't go to the bathroom alone. And worst of all, his mind was completely intact. He knew exactly what he had lost. February 12th of last year, Jason received a call at 2 a.m. Dad, his father, massive heart attack, Cedars-Sinai Hospital. He arrived in 22 minutes too late. His father was gone. The last words his father said to him 3 hours before the heart attack were over the phone. "Jason, promise me something. Take care of your Uncle Albert. He's all I have left of my family. Don't leave him alone. Promise me." "I promise, Dad." But promising and delivering aren't the same thing. Jason delivered with money. He hired the best caregivers, 24 hours, rotating shifts, $1,800 a month per caregiver. 3 different caregivers each week. The best doctors. Dr. Thompson, neurologist at New York Presbyterian Hospital, $300 per monthly consultation. The best medicines, levodopa, carbidopa, pramipexole, $800 a month in medications, physical therapy, $500 a month, medical equipment, walker, wheelchair, hospital bed, adapted bathroom, $12,000 in total, monthly total $3,400. In 1 year, $4,800. Jason paid everything without thinking twice. It was his duty, but there was one thing he wasn't paying: time. Presence. Those 20 minutes on Sundays weren't for Mr. Albert, they were for Jason's conscience. To be able to say to himself, "I kept my promise. I'm taking care of my uncle. But a housekeeper who earned $800 a month was about to teach him what it really means to take care of someone. In the last 3 years, Mr. Albert had 5 different caregivers. The first, Michael, quit after 4 months. He said, "I can't anymore. Mr. Albert is too difficult. He gets angry. He shouts. He doesn't cooperate." The second, Patricia, lasted 6 months. She quit saying, "It's too depressing. Seeing someone like that every day. I didn't study nursing for this." The third, Charles, quit after 2 months. No explanation. The fourth, Sarah, lasted 8 months. She quit after Mr. Albert, in a moment of extreme frustration, threw a plate of food at her. It didn't hit her, but Sarah said, "I don't get paid enough for this." The fifth, Robert, lasted 3 months. Jason was desperate. The agencies didn't want to send caregivers anymore. Mr. Albert had a reputation for being impossible. Then came Amy Rogers, 46 years old. Short stature, barely 5'1". Fair skin, small but strong hands, always styled with a braid, always with a soft smile. She came through Compassionate Care Services, a different agency. The interview was at Jason's house, May 15th of this year, 10 a.m. Jason was in a hurry. He had a meeting at 11, so he went straight to the point. "My uncle has advanced Parkinson'S stage 4. He can't do anything alone. The last 5 caregivers quit. He's difficult. Can you handle it?" Amy didn't respond immediately. She looked Jason directly in the eyes and said something that Jason would never forget. "Mr. Miller, people with Parkinson's aren't difficult. They're trapped. Imagine your mind is a Ferrari, but your body is a broken-down car. Wouldn't you be frustrated too?" Jason blinked. Nobody had ever told him that before. "Do you have experience with Parkinson's?" Jason asked. "My mother," Amy replied. 8 years. She passed away 2 years ago. Stage 5. I took care of her alone. I know what it's like." Jason looked at his watch. 10:47. He had to leave. "The job is yours. $800 a month. Hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday to Saturday. Sundays off. Can you start tomorrow?" Amy nodded. Jason gave her the keys, explained where everything was, and ran out. 10:52. He was late. He didn't know he had just hired an angel. The first 2 months were quiet. Amy arrived at 8 o'clock. Not a minute late, not a minute early. She went about her work quietly, efficiently. She prepared breakfast for Mr. Albert, helped him bathe, dressed him, gave him his medicine, sat him in his chair by the window, served him lunch, moved him to bed for his nap, assisted him with basic physical therapy, served him dinner, got him ready for bed. Everything mechanical, everything efficient. Jason would sometimes check the security cameras. The house had cameras in the living room, the kitchen, the hallways, but not in Mr. Albert's room. Privacy, the doctor had said. On the cameras, Jason saw Amy working, cleaning, cooking, always quiet, always professional, nothing out of the ordinary. But something began to change. It was subtle at first. 3 weeks after Amy started, Dr. Thompson came for the monthly checkup. After examining Mr. Albert, the doctor called Jason on the phone. "Mr. Miller, has anything changed in Mr. Albert's routine?" "No," Jason replied. "Why?" "His vital signs are better. More stable blood pressure, more regular heart rate, and he seems, I don't know how to say it, he seems calmer." "Is that bad?" Jason asked. No, it's good. It's just unusual. Advanced Parkinson's generally gets worse, not better. I just wanted to know if you changed his medication or something. We haven't changed anything, doctor." "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Jason hung up the phone. He thought for a moment. Then he shrugged and went back to work. He had a presentation with Japanese clients in 20 minutes. 1 month later, Mrs. Eleanor, the 67-year-old neighbor who lived next door, knocked on Jason's door one Sunday. "Mr. Miller, excuse me for bothering you. I just wanted to tell you that I saw Mr. Albert in the garden yesterday." Jason frowned. Mr. Albert rarely went out into the garden. It was complicated to move him. "Was he okay?" Jason asked. "He was more than okay," said Mrs. Eleanor with a smile. "I saw him smiling. Jason, in the 3 years I've lived here, I've never seen Mr. Albert smile. I thought you should know." Jason didn't know what to say. "Thank you, Mrs. Eleanor." He closed the door. He stood there in the foyer. Mr. Albert, smiling. When was the last time he had seen his uncle smile? He couldn't remember. Years, maybe. He decided to ask Amy the next time he saw her, but he never did, because the following Tuesday, he had to fly to Chicago for an emergency with a client, then to Denver, then back, then another meeting, another call, another contract. The question about the smile evaporated from his mind like water on hot concrete. 2 months after Amy started working, one Sunday at 11 in the morning, Jason arrived for his 20-minute visit. He entered the house. Everything was clean, as always. Amy had Sundays off, so Mr. Albert was alone until 8 a.m. on Monday. Jason entered Mr. Albert's room. "Uncle, how are you?" Mr. Albert was sitting in his chair, looking out the window. He turned slowly toward Jason, and Jason saw it. A smile. Small, barely noticeable, but it was there. Jason felt something strange in his chest. Guilt, relief, confusion. "You looked good, Uncle." Mr. Albert nodded slightly. His voice was soft, shaky, but clear. "Amy is good." Jason nodded. "I'm glad you're comfortable." They talked about trivial things for 15 minutes. The medicine, the weather, the doctors. Jason looked at his watch. 11:18. "I have to go, Uncle. Important call." Mr. Albert nodded again. Jason stood up, patted him on the shoulder, and left. 11:22. 2 minutes late. But for some reason, he didn't care as much as usual. 1 week later, on Wednesday, August 7th, at 2:47 in the afternoon, Jason received a message from his assistant. 3 p.m. meeting cancelled. Investors had a problem with their flight. Rescheduled for Friday. Jason looked at his calendar. The rest of the day, empty. For the first time in 5 years, Jason Miller had a free afternoon. He decided to go home early. He arrived at 3 p.m. and he heard Frank Sinatra. Jason left his briefcase on the floor of the foyer. He took off his shoes quietly. The music was coming from Mr. Albert's room. "Fly Me to the Moon," Frank Sinatra. He walked slowly down the hallway. His heart was beating fast. The door to the room was closed. He put his hand on the doorknob. He took a deep breath, but he didn't open it, because at that moment he heard something else. Laughter. Mr. Albert, laughing. Jason hadn't heard his uncle laugh in, how long? 5 years, 10. And another voice, soft, feminine. Amy. She was talking. Jason couldn't hear the words, but the tone was warm, kind. Jason stood frozen in the hallway. Part of him wanted to open the door. Another part felt like he would be invading something private. He decided to wait. He sat on the floor in the hallway, back against the wall, like when he was a kid, and eavesdropped on the adults' conversations. The music continued. "Now it was the way you looked tonight." 5 minutes passed. Jason checked his phone. He answered 2 emails, but his mind was on that closed door. What were they doing in there? 10 minutes. The music changed. "New York, New York." Jason knew that song. His Aunt Rose used to sing it all the time. 15 minutes. Jason got up. He couldn't wait any longer. He knocked softly on the door. The music stopped. A moment of silence. Then he heard footsteps. The door opened. Amy was there. Her blue uniform, impeccable, but there was something different in her face. Surprise, fear. "Mr. Miller," Amy said. "I didn't know you were here." "I came home early," Jason said. "I heard music." Amy looked down. "I'm sorry. I brought a CD. Mr. Albert likes music. I didn't know it would bother you." "It doesn't bother me," Jason said quickly. I didn't know he still liked music." "He loves it, Mr. Miller. He says it reminds him of his wife." Jason nodded slowly. He looked over Amy's shoulder. He saw Mr. Albert in his chair, looking at them. His uncle wasn't shaking as much as usual. "Can I come in?" Jason asked. "Of course, Mr. Miller. It's your house." Amy stepped aside. Jason entered. The room smelled different. like flowers. There was a small bouquet of carnations on the nightstand. "Who brought the flowers?" Jason asked. "I did, sir," Amy replied. "I bought them with my own money. I thought they would brighten up the room." Jason looked at the bouquet. $20 maybe. Nothing to him. But Amy earned $8,000 a month. $20 was 0.25% of her monthly salary. "That's very kind of you," Jason said. He approached Mr. Albert. "Hello, Uncle. How are you?" Mr. Albert smiled. That same small smile that Jason had seen last week. "All right," Uncle Albert said softly. "Amy, take good care." "It's good to see you, Uncle," Jason replied. He looked around the room. Everything was perfectly clean. But there were small changes. Old photos that had been stored away in boxes were now in frames on the dresser. Uncle Albert as a young man with an airplane. Uncle Albert with his wife Rose at their wedding. Uncle Albert with Jason's father, his brother. "Who put up the photos?" Jason asked. "I did, Mr. Miller," Amy responded gently. "I found the boxes in the closet. I thought Uncle Albert would like to remember." Jason felt a lump form in his throat. He looked at Amy, really looked at her. For the first time, she was petite, humble. She wore her blue uniform with pride. Her hands were chapped, probably from cleaning with so much bleach and soap. But her eyes were kind. If you're listening to this and you have super thanks enabled, that golden heart below this video, use it now. Because this story doesn't exist for me to make money. It exists for you to remember that there are people performing miracles in silence every single day, and they deserve to be seen. Jason stayed for 45 minutes that day. He had no calls, no meetings, so he stayed. Amy continued working. She prepared a snack for Uncle Albert, yogurt with fruit, toast. Jason watched as Amy helped Uncle Albert eat, each spoonful with infinite patience. No rush, no frustration. When Uncle Albert trembled and dropped a little yogurt, Amy just cleaned it up and tried again. Smiling, Jason had never seen any of the other caregivers do that. They just put the plate in front of Uncle Albert and let him struggle alone. Faster, they'd say. Amy was different. After the snack, Amy put on another song. "Strangers in the Night." "He likes these songs?" Jason asked. Amy turned, surprised that Jason was still there. "Uncle Albert loves them, Mr. Miller. They're the ones he danced to with his wife." "How do you know that?" Amy smiled softly. "He told me, Mr. Miller. We talk a lot." Jason blinked. "You talk a lot?" His uncle barely spoke. "What do you talk about?" Jason inquired. "Airplanes," Amy replied. "His work, his wife, you, when you were a kid. He told me you used to build paper airplanes and launch them from the roof." Jason felt like someone had pressed pause on the world. That was true. He did do that. When he was 8, 9 years old, he would build elaborate paper airplanes, following diagrams his uncle showed him, and they would launch them together from the roof of Uncle Albert's house. He had completely forgotten that. "He told you that?" Jason asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Yes, Mr. Miller. He says you were very bright, that he always knew you would be successful." Jason looked at his uncle. Uncle Albert was looking back at him with those clear, lucid eyes, trapped in a body that wouldn't obey him, but his mind still brilliant. How much time had passed talking about the past while Jason rushed from meeting to meeting. Jason cleared his throat. "I have to go. Thank you, Amy." "You're welcome, Mr. Miller." Jason left the room, but before leaving the house, he did something he had never done. He went to his home office, opened his desk drawer, and pulled out an old box. Inside were photos. Photos of him as a kid with Uncle Albert. At the zoo, at the Air and Space Museum, building paper airplanes. Jason looked at the photos for the first time in 20 years, and he wept. That night, Jason couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Uncle Albert, about Amy, about that music. At 2 in the morning, he got up and went to his computer. He searched Parkinson'S and music. He found studies, dozens of studies. Music therapy activates the basal ganglia, releases dopamine. Improves movement temporarily, reduces tremors. Music, stated a study from Johns Hopkins Hospital, can give Parkinson's patients moments of grace. Moments where their body obeys them again. Jason read until 4 in the morning. Amy knew this. She knew it because she took care of her mother for 8 years. She learned on her own. No formal studies, no degrees, just love and observation. The next day, Jason did something he never did. He cancelled his morning meetings. He arrived home at 10 in the morning. Amy was in the kitchen preparing lunch. "Amy, can I talk to you?" "Of course, Mr. Miller." "Did I do something wrong?" No, quite the opposite. I want to ask you something. Why do you arrive early?" Amy blushed. "I didn't know you noticed, Mr. Miller. The neighbors see you arriving at 7 in the morning. Your schedule is 8 to 6. Why do you come an hour early?" Amy lowered her gaze. "Because at 7, Uncle Albert is already awake. I hear him moving around in his room, and I don't like him being alone when he wakes up. The first few minutes of the day are the most difficult for someone with Parkinson's. The body is stiff after sleeping. That's when he needs the most help. Am I paying you for that extra hour?" "No, Mr. Miller." "Why do you do it then?" Amy looked Jason directly in the eyes. "Because when my mother had Parkinson's, I had to work. I left at 6 in the morning, came back at 8 at night. My mother spent 14 hours alone every day. I know how it feels to be trapped in your body, waiting for someone to arrive. I don't want Uncle Albert to feel that way." Jason felt like he'd been punched in the gut. This woman who earned minimum wage gave 1 hour of her life every day for free because she knew how loneliness felt, while Jason, who had millions, gave 20 minutes a week. That weekend, Jason did something else unusual. On Saturday afternoon, he went to Uncle Albert's room. Amy was cleaning. "Amy, can I stay and watch how you work?" Amy looked confused. "Why, Mr. Miller?" "I want to learn." And Jason sat in a chair in the corner of the room, and he observed how Amy talked to Uncle Albert as she helped him get dressed. She didn't just put the clothes on him. She asked him, "Would you prefer the blue shirt or the white one today, Uncle Albert?" Giving him the dignity of choosing, he observed how Amy hummed softly as she combed the little hair that Uncle Albert had. Gently, carefully, he observed how Amy described what was happening outside the window. "Look, Uncle Albert, there's a hummingbird in the garden. Do you see it? It's on the bougainvillea." Uncle Albert smiled. Jason took mental notes. On Sunday, Jason arrived at 11 in the morning for his usual visit, but this time he didn't leave at 11:20. He stayed until 12:30. He asked Uncle Albert about the airplanes he had designed, about his wife, about his life. Uncle Albert spoke, slowly, with difficulty, but he spoke, and Jason listened, really listened, for the first time in years. On Monday morning, Jason sent a message to Amy. "Your salary is increased to $6,000 a month, and that extra hour you've been coming in early is now being paid, and I want you to show me what else I can do for Uncle Albert." Amy replied 3 hours later, "Thank you, Mr. Miller, but you don't need to pay me more. I do it because I want to." Jason wrote back, "I know, and that's exactly why you deserve more." 2 weeks passed. Jason started coming home earlier, not always, but 2-3 times a week. He'd stay for 30-40 minutes, talk with Uncle Albert, listen to music with him. He learned the names of the songs. He learned which songs were his favorites. "Fly Me to the Moon," "Strangers in the Night," "My Way." One Tuesday afternoon, while looking for something in Uncle Albert's room, Jason saw a CD in a drawer next to the bed. He took it out. It was an old CD, handwritten in blue marker, "Rose and Albert, Our Music." Jason looked at Amy. "Where did you get this?" "I found it in the closet, Mr. Miller. It was in a box marked Memories. I thought Uncle Albert might like to listen to it. Did you ask him?" "Yes, sir. He cried when I showed it to him. But he said yes. He said he wanted to listen to Rose again." Jason squeezed the CD in his hand. That CD had been in that closet for 6 years, since Aunt Rose died. None of the previous 5 caregivers had found it. Or if they found it, they didn't care. But Amy looked. Amy asked. Amy took the time to get to know Uncle Albert, not as a patient, but as a person. Jason looked at his uncle. Uncle Albert was in his chair, looking out the window. His right hand was trembling, his body stiff, but he was smiling. And Jason realized something. The miracle wasn't the medicine. The miracle was Amy. But what Jason was about to discover went beyond music and photos and conversations. Because the next Friday, when Jason decided to cancel all his meetings and come home at 2 p.m., he was going to see something that would change his life forever. Something that science says is impossible. Something that only love can explain. And that something had to do with exactly 10 minutes. 10 minutes where Uncle Albert wasn't a prisoner in his body. 10 minutes of grace. 10 minutes dancing. But before getting to that moment, Jason needed to understand something. He needed to know who Amy Rogers really was. On Tuesday afternoon, after finding the CD, Jason did something he normally wouldn't. He asked Amy if they could talk, not about Uncle Albert, about her. They sat in the kitchen. Amy seemed nervous. "I didn't do anything wrong, did I, Mr. Miller?" "No, Amy. I just want to get to know you better. You've been working here for 3 months, and I hardly know anything about you." Amy relaxed a little. "There's not much to tell, sir. I'm 46 years old. I live in Queens. I have 3 kids, 24, 22, and 19. They all work. My husband passed away 10 years ago. Construction accident." "I'm so sorry," Jason said. "Thank you, sir. It was a while ago. I've learned to live with it." "What was it like taking care of your mother with Parkinson's?" Amy looked out the window. Her eyes welled up. "Difficult, sir. Very difficult. My mom started with symptoms at 62. I was 36. Slight tremors at first. Then they got worse. In 3 years, she couldn't work anymore. In 5 years, she couldn't walk alone. In 8 years, she was stage 5. What's stage 5? It's the last stage, sir. My mom was bedridden 24 hours a day. Couldn't move, couldn't talk, just existed." Amy wiped away a tear. "But I worked. I had to work. My kids were in school. The bills didn't pay themselves. So I left at 6 in the morning, came back at 8 at night. My mom spent 14 hours alone every day. A neighbor, Mrs. Davison, checked on her twice a day, gave her water. That was it." Amy took a deep breath. "One day I came home. It was a Friday. I remember because it was my mom's 70th birthday. I bought a cupcake. I thought maybe we could celebrate. I went into the room and she was crying. She'd been crying for hours. The pillow was wet. And I know why she was crying. Because that day, in her head, she probably thought I wasn't coming back anymore. That she was alone forever." Jason felt a lump in his throat. "What did you do?" "I quit my job," Amy said. "The next day, I quit and took care of my mom full time. My kids told me not to, that we needed the money. But I told them, money comes and goes. Mothers can't be replaced. And if my mom's going to die, she's not going to die alone." "How did you survive?" "My kids worked more hours. I did work from home, sewing, cleaning houses on weekends, whatever it took. And I took care of my mom for 2 full years, until she passed." "I'm so sorry, Amy." "Don't be, sir. Those 2 years were the hardest of my life, but also the most important, because I learned something." "What did you learn?" "I learned that people with Parkinson's don't just need medicine. They need connection. They need to remember that they're still human, that they still matter." So I talked to my mom every day. Even if she couldn't respond, I played her music. I read to her. I told her stories. Did it work? Amy smiled. One day, 3 weeks before she passed, I was reading to her. It was her favorite book, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I got to a passage she loved, and I swear I saw her smile. Just for a second, but I saw it. and I knew she heard me, that she was still in there. Amy wiped away another tear. So when I see Uncle Albert, I see my mom, and I can't treat it like just a job. It has to matter, because if it doesn't matter, what am I doing? Jason didn't know what to say. This woman had lost her husband, had cared for her mother for years, had sacrificed her salary to give dignity, and now she was doing the same with Uncle Albert, not because she was paid enough, but because that's who she was. Amy, I'd like to increase your salary to $5,000 a month. Amy looked surprised. Mr. Miller, that's almost double, I know, and it's still not enough for what you do, but it's what I can offer now. Amy lowered her head. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Really? Jason nodded. There's something else. I want to know exactly what you do with my uncle, the complete routine, so I can help on the weekends. Really, Mr. Miller, really. And Amy explained. She explained how she arrived at 7 a.m., how she made breakfast exactly how Uncle Albert liked it, oatmeal with honey, fresh fruit, toast with strawberry jam. She explained how she bathed him with warm water, always asking if the temperature was okay, never rushing him. She explained how they chose his clothes together, how she asked him what color he wanted to wear that day. She explained how she played music while she worked, always classic crooners like Frank Sinatra or Tony Bennett, the songs that Uncle Albert loved. Amy explained how she would take him out to the garden when the weather was nice. She described the birds, the flowers, the sky. She explained how she would read the newspaper to him every afternoon, the news, the sports, everything. And then she explained something more. She explained that she kept a notebook where she documented everything. A notebook? Jason asked. Yes, Mr. Miller, a blue notebook. I write down everything. What Uncle Albert ate, how he felt, what songs he liked, how much his hands trembled, what made him smile. Everything. Why? Because Parkinson's is unpredictable, Mr. Miller. One day can be good, the next can be terrible. But if I keep a record, I can see patterns. I can see what helps and what doesn't. For example, I discovered that if Uncle Albert listens to music in the morning, he trembles less in the afternoon. I discovered that if I talk to him about his wife, he becomes calmer. I discovered that sunny days are better than cloudy days. Small things, but they matter. Jason was astonished. This woman, without formal education, without a medical degree, was doing what no doctor had done. She was seeing Uncle Albert as an individual, not as a diagnosis. Can I see the notebook? Jason asked. Of course, Mr. Miller. Amy went to Uncle Albert's room and returned with a worn, blue spiral notebook full of handwritten notes. Jason opened it. The first page read, Albert Miller, Routine and Observations. Started May the 16th. 3 months of notes. Exactly 90 days. Jason turned the pages. Day 1. Uncle Albert is distrustful. Doesn't want to talk. Severe tremors. Didn't eat much. Day 5. Today I asked him about airplanes. His eyes lit up. He talked for 10 minutes about a plane he designed in 1987. Day 12. Found music CDs in the closet. Asked if I could play them. He cried, said yes. Day 18. Uncle Albert smiled today when I described the hummingbird in the garden. First smile I've seen. Day 27. Less severe tremors when he listens to Frank Sinatra. Music helps. Day 34. Uncle Albert asked me about my family. I told him about my kids. He listened attentively. Day 42. Today, Uncle Albert called me by my name. First time. I was so moved I cried in the bathroom afterward. Day 56. Uncle Albert told me about his wife, Rose, how they danced every Sunday, how she sang while she cooked. He cried. Me too. Day 63. Mr. Miller arrived early today. Uncle Albert was happy to see him longer. Day 71. Uncle Albert asked if we could dance someday. I said yes. We'll try tomorrow. Day 72. We danced today. Only 3 minutes. But Uncle Albert didn't tremble during those 3 minutes. It's the first time I've seen him without tremors. He cried with joy. Me too. Day 78. We danced again. 5 minutes today. Uncle Albert says he feels like his old self. Day 85. We danced for 8 minutes. Uncle Albert laughed. He said, "You're an angel." Amy. Day 90. Today is Friday. We danced for a full 10 minutes without tremors. Uncle Albert is radiant. Jason closed the notebook. His hands were trembling, not from Parkinson's, from emotion. Amy had been dancing with Uncle Albert, and during those dances, the tremors stopped. Science said it was impossible, but love made it possible. Jason looked at Amy. "Why didn't you tell me you were dancing?" Amy looked down. "I was afraid you'd think it was inappropriate, Mr. Miller, or that I was wasting time. I know you pay me to take care of him, not to dance with him, but it makes him so happy. And the tremors stop, only while we're dancing. But they stop. Amy, this isn't inappropriate. This is incredible." Amy smiled shyly. "Really, Mr. Miller, really, I want to see you dance with him." "When, Mr. Miller?" "Tomorrow, Friday. I'll come at 2 p.m., like last week, but this time, I want to see." Amy nodded. "If Friday at 2 is when we dance, Mr. Miller, that's always when it is. Uncle Albert says it was the time he danced with Rose on Sundays after lunch." Jason smiled. "Then I'll be there. But here's the question. If you were Jason, what would you do? Would you interrupt that moment, or would you remain silent? Would you thank Amy immediately, or would you wait to see more? Because Jason decided something that would change everything. He decided to stay hidden. He decided to observe without interrupting because he wanted to see the whole truth. And what he was about to see was more beautiful and heartbreaking than he could have imagined. On Friday, August 16th at 1:47 p.m., Jason left his office. He told his assistant, "Cancel everything, and the rest of the day I'm busy with a family matter." His assistant looked confused. "Everything. Mr. Miller, you have a board meeting at 4. Reschedule it. Urgent family matter due." Jason drove home. He arrived at 2:12 p.m., 12 minutes late. His heart was racing. He entered silently. He took off his shoes, walked barefoot down the hallway. The house was silent. He approached Uncle Albert's room. The door was closed. Jason stood outside, waiting. 2:15 p.m. He heard footsteps inside. Amy's soft voice. "Uncle Albert, are you ready to dance?" Uncle Albert's voice, tremulous but clear. "Yes." Amy, as always. The sound of a chair moving. Then, music. Classic crooners like Frank Sinatra. "Fly Me to the Moon." Jason put his hand on the doorknob, took a deep breath. He turned the knob slowly, pushed the door open just a crack, enough to see inside without being seen. And what he saw took his breath away. Uncle Albert was standing, with Amy's support. Yes, but standing. Amy was facing him, her hands holding Uncle Albert's trembling hands, her other hand on his waist, holding him firmly but gently. And they were dancing. Slow movement, very slow. One step, pause. Another step, pause. But it was dancing. Jason looked at his watch. 2:17 p.m. Uncle Albert was trembling, his hands, his arms. Amy spoke softly. "Let's breathe together. Uncle Albert, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Uncle Albert tried to follow the rhythm. 2:18 p.m. The tremors were starting to subside. 2:19 p.m. Uncle Albert moved his left foot, then his right, following the music. Amy smiled. "That's it, Uncle Albert. Just like you danced with Rose." Uncle Albert closed his eyes. 2:20 p.m. The tremors stopped. Jason held his breath. Uncle Albert's hands steady, without tremor, his arm stable, his body moving gently to the rhythm of the music, as if the Parkinson'S had disappeared. Jason took out his phone, started the stopwatch. 2:21 p.m. Uncle Albert opened his eyes. There were tears in them. "Amy," he whispered. "Thank you. You're welcome. Uncle Albert, it's an honor to dance with you." They kept moving, slow, steady, to the rhythm of Frank Sinatra. 2:22 p.m., 2:23 p.m., 2:24 p.m. Jason watched the timer. Uncle Albert's hands, steady, no tremor. The song changed. Now it was a classic crooner, like Frank Sinatra. Uncle Albert smiled. This song, Rose used to sing it in the shower. Amy chuckled softly. That must have been beautiful. It was, Uncle Albert said. Everything with her was beautiful. 2:25 p.m., 2:26 p.m. Jason felt tears welling up in his own eyes. His uncle, his brilliant Uncle Albert, a prisoner in his body for 4 years, now dancing, not cured, not healed, but free for 10 minutes. 2:27 p.m. The music played on. Amy sang softly along. Uncle Albert looked at her with a tenderness Jason hadn't seen in years. "You're like her," Uncle Albert said. "Like Rose, kind, patient." Amy shook her head. "You honor me, Mr. Albert." "No, Amy, it's the truth. My nephew Jason was lucky to find you." 2:28 p.m., 2:29 p.m. Jason gripped his phone. 9 minutes, no tremor. 9 minutes of grace. 2:30 p.m. The song ended. Amy gently guided Uncle Albert back to his chair. She sat him down carefully, straightened his shirt. "How do you feel, Mr. Albert?" Uncle Albert smiled, the biggest smile Jason had seen in years. "I feel alive." And in that moment, as Uncle Albert spoke those words, the tremors returned. Slowly, first the right hand, then the left. Exactly 10 minutes. Jason stopped the timer. 10:12. Amy knelt in front of Uncle Albert. She took his trembling hands. "We did it again, Mr. Albert. 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Uncle Albert repeated. 10 minutes where I dance. 10 minutes where I'm me again." Amy nodded. "And every Friday, we'll have 10 more minutes." Uncle Albert closed his eyes. A tear rolled down his cheek. "Thank you, Amy, for giving me myself back, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Jason couldn't take it anymore. He pushed the door open. Amy stood up quickly. "Mr. Miller, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were here." Jason walked into the room, tears streaming down his face. "Don't apologize, Amy." He went to Uncle Albert, kneeling beside him. "Uncle, I saw you dance." Uncle Albert opened his eyes. He looked ashamed. "Jason, don't say anything," Jason said. "Just let me say something." Jason took his uncle's trembling hands. Forgive me for not being here, for giving you money but not time, for paying doctors but not giving you my presence. Amy gave you what I should have given you, and I'm going to change that. I promise you," Uncle Albert cried. "Jason, you've done so much for me." "No, Uncle, I haven't done anything, but I'm going to start." Jason looked at Amy. "And you're a miracle, a literal miracle." Amy shook her head. "I just do what I can, sir." "No, Amy, you do the impossible, and I want to learn. I want you to teach me how to dance with him, so that on Sundays, when you're not here, I can give him 10 more minutes." Amy smiled, tears in her eyes. "It would be an honor, sir." And so, something new began. Something that would change not only Uncle Albert's life, but the lives of 3 people. A millionaire who learned that time is the real luxury. An employee who taught that love isn't measured in dollars. And an elderly man with Parkinson's who learned that 10 minutes of freedom are worth more than a lifetime of imprisonment. But this story isn't over yet, because what happened next was even more beautiful. If you listening to this have super thanks activated, that golden heart below this video, use it now. Because what is coming is not just a story of family love, it's a story of transformation. And transformations aren't quick. They're painful, they're humbling, they're beautiful. The following Saturday, Jason did something he never thought he'd do. He signed up for dance lessons, Dance and Life Academy, downtown. 9 a.m. The instructor's name was Marisol, 58 years old. She'd been teaching dance for 35 years. When Jason walked in and told her why he was there, Marisol cried, "Sir, in 35 years of teaching, no one has ever told me they want to learn to dance for their uncle with Parkinson's. We're going to do this right." And they started. The first class was humiliating. Jason Miller, CEO, Millionaire, used to controlling boardrooms, couldn't take 2 steps without stepping on Marisol's feet. Left, right, left. No, sir, right first. Again. Jason was sweating, not from physical exertion, from embarrassment. "Marisol, I'm 52 years old. I've never danced in my life. Is it even possible for me to learn?" Marisol smiled. "Mr. Miller, if your uncle with Parkinson's can dance, so can you." Again, right, left, right. Jason took classes 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. 9 a.m. He cancelled meetings, rescheduled calls. For the first time in 20 years, something was more important than work. The second week, Jason managed to dance an entire song without stepping on Marisol. A Frank Sinatra classic, 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Marisol applauded. "Good, sir, you're almost there." The 4th week, Jason could keep up with the rhythm. Not perfectly, but enough. The 8th week, Marisol told him something important. "Mr. Miller, you know the steps now, but dancing isn't just steps. It's connection. It's listening to the other person. It's feeling. Do you understand?" "I think so." "Then you're ready to dance with Uncle Albert." That was October 12th. Saturday. Jason arrived home at 2 in the afternoon. Amy was preparing lunch. "Amy, can I talk to you?" "Of course, sir. I've been taking dance lessons for 8 weeks and I want to dance with my uncle tomorrow, Sunday. Can you come and show me how you do it? I know it's your day off, but I'll pay you triple." Amy shook her head. "You don't need to pay me, sir. I'll come gladly." And so, on Sunday, October 13th, at 2 in the afternoon, something happened that no one in that house would ever forget. Amy arrived. Jason was as nervous as he'd ever been. "I've presented in front of 500 investors. I've closed deals worth millions of dollars, but I've never been as nervous as I am right now." Amy smiled. "It's normal, sir. You're about to give Uncle Albert an enormous gift. It's natural to be nervous." They entered Uncle Albert's room. Uncle Albert was in his chair. When he saw Jason and Amy together, he frowned. "What's wrong? Something bad?" "No, Uncle. Something good. Amy has taught me your secret, and I want to dance with you." Uncle Albert blinked. "Dance? You?" "Yes, I've been taking classes. I'm not good, but I want to try to." "If you want to." Uncle Albert looked at Amy. Amy nodded. "It's true, Mr. Albert. Mr. Miller has been taking classes for 2 months. He wants to dance with you." Uncle Albert closed his eyes. Tears fell. "Jason, you don't have to." "I want to, Uncle. I want to give you what I haven't given you in years. Time, presence. And if I can give you 10 minutes, where you're not shaking, where you're yourself again, I want to give you that." Uncle Albert nodded. He couldn't speak. He just wept. Amy put on the music. At last, Jason walked over to his uncle. He offered his hands. Uncle Albert took Jason's hands. Trembling, Amy guided them both. "Mr. Miller, place your hand here, on Uncle Albert's waist, like this. Hold him firmly, but not too tight. Uncle Albert, lean your weight on Mr. Miller. Trust him." Uncle Albert leaned on Jason, and they began to move. Slowly, very slowly. Jason counted in his head. Right, left, right. Uncle Albert trembled, but he kept up with the rhythm. Amy watched. Good. Gentlemen, breathe together. 1, 2, 3. Jason breathed. Uncle Albert breathed. 2 minutes passed. The tremors began to lessen. 3 minutes. Jason stepped on Uncle Albert's foot. "Sorry, Uncle." Uncle Albert laughed. A soft laugh. "Jason, I used to step on Rose's feet in the beginning too." 5 minutes. The tremors stopped. Jason felt the change. His uncle's body, more stable, more firm. Uncle Albert opened his eyes. He looked at Jason. "Thank you, son." Jason almost broke down. Uncle Albert had never called him son before. 8 minutes they kept dancing. The music filled the room. Amy wept silently in the corner. 10 minutes. Jason guided Uncle Albert back to his chair. He sat him down gently. "How do you feel, Uncle?" Uncle Albert smiled, as if he'd gone back 20 years. The tremors returned slowly, but Uncle Albert didn't stop smiling. Jason knelt in front of his uncle. "Every Sunday, Uncle. I'm going to come every Sunday. And we're going to dance 10 minutes every week." Uncle Albert took Jason's trembling hand. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything, just dance with me." And so began a routine that would change everything. Every Friday, Amy danced with Uncle Albert at 2 p.m. Every Sunday, Jason danced with Uncle Albert at 2 p.m. 20 minutes of freedom a week. But it wasn't just 20 minutes. It was 20 minutes where Uncle Albert was human again, where his body obeyed him, where the prison of Parkinson'S opened up. And those 20 minutes transformed 3 lives. 3 weeks later, on November 5th, Jason was cleaning out Uncle Albert's closet. Amy had asked for his help reorganizing. Jason found an old box marked Rose, Memories. "Can I open it?" Jason asked. Amy looked at Uncle Albert. Uncle Albert nodded. Jason opened the box. Inside were photos, hundreds of photos. Uncle Albert as a young man, handsome, in a suit, next to a beautiful woman in a white dress, Rose. Jason flipped through the photos. Uncle Albert and Rose at their wedding, 1972, both dancing, Rose smiling. Uncle Albert looking at her like she was the only thing in the world. Uncle Albert and Rose in a park, with a baby, Jason's father. Uncle Albert and Rose on their 25th anniversary, dancing again. Uncle Albert and Rose in their last photo together, 2019. Uncle Albert already with Parkinson'S, Rose holding him up, both smiling. Jason looked at his uncle. "She was everything to you, wasn't she?" Uncle Albert closed his eyes. "She was my whole life, Jason. When she died, a part of me died too. Why did you dance so much?" Uncle Albert smiled, because it was the only thing where the world disappeared. It was just her and me. The music, the movement, nothing else mattered. Not work, not money, not time. Just us! Jason looked at the wedding photo. Uncle Albert and Rose dancing. "Uncle, can I keep this photo? I want to get it framed." Uncle Albert nodded. "Of course." Jason took the photo to be framed. 2 days later, on November 7th, he hung it in Uncle Albert's room, right in front of his chair, so that every day, Uncle Albert could see Rose dancing with him. And every day, Uncle Albert looked at her and smiled. On November 20th, something changed in Jason. Jason was in his office, meeting with the board of directors, talking about expansion, new markets, more growth. His assistant came in. "Mr. Miller, your uncle called." Jason frowned. Uncle Albert never called. He couldn't hold the phone himself. What did he say? He said, "Tell Jason I miss dancing with him. He hasn't come in 2 Sundays." Jason felt like someone had punched him. He was right. The last 2 weeks, he had been so busy that he cancelled his Sunday visits. He sent messages saying, "Uncle, I'm sorry. Too much work. I'll come next week." But next week never came. Jason looked at the board of directors. 12 people, waiting for his decision about the expansion. He looked at the numbers on the screen. $500 million, new contracts, more growth, and he realized something. None of this mattered if he lost the only thing he really had, time with his uncle. Jason stood up. "Excuse me. This meeting is adjourned. Make the decision without me. I trust you." The board was shocked. "Sir?" Jason was already leaving. "I have to go dance with my uncle." He got home at 2:30 p.m., late, but he arrived. Uncle Albert was in his chair looking out the window. Jason entered. Uncle, I'm sorry, I'm late again. Uncle Albert turned around. He was smiling, but there was sadness in his eyes. Jason, you're a busy man. I understand. No, Uncle, don't understand, because there's no excuse. I promised you every Sunday, and I broke that promise, just like I broke the promise I made to my dad, but not anymore. Jason knelt down. From today, every Sunday is yours. No matter what happens, no matter what meeting, what contract, what client, Sundays are for you. Uncle Albert wept. Jason, you don't have to. I want to, because you're worth more than any contract. And they danced, late, uncoordinated. Jason still stepped on his feet, but they danced. And for 12 minutes, Uncle Albert didn't tremble. New record. After dancing, Jason stayed, not 20 minutes, 3 hours. They talked about airplanes, about Rose, about memories, about the past, and Jason realized something. He had spent 52 years living, but he was just starting to be alive. On December 15th, Amy came to work with something special, a small camera on a tripod. Mr. Miller, can I ask you something? Of course, Amy. I'd like to record a video of you dancing with Uncle Albert, not to publish it, just to remember, so that Uncle Albert can see himself dancing, so he knows he's not imagining that he can do it. Jason nodded. That sounds perfect. That's Sunday, December 16th. Amy put the camera in the corner of the room. Jason arrived at 2 o'clock. Exactly. Uncle Albert was ready. Amy had chosen his favorite shirt, the blue one, the one he wore on his 30th anniversary with Rose. Amy put on the music. What a wonderful world. The song Rose used to sing in the shower. Jason took Uncle Albert's hands, and they danced. The camera recorded everything. The first 2 minutes, Uncle Albert trembling, Jason holding him steady. Minute 3, the trembling starting to subside. Minute 5, Uncle Albert moving more fluidly. Minute 7, the trembling stopped. Uncle Albert dancing, really dancing like he used to with Rose 30 years ago. Jason spoke as they danced. Uncle, remember when you took me to the Air and Space Museum? I was 8 years old. You told me I'd fly high someday, and you were right, but I forgot that flying high doesn't mean leaving the people you love behind. It means taking them with you. Uncle Albert closed his eyes, tears falling. Jason, you're the son I never had. And seeing you now, seeing you take the time, it's the best gift you've ever given me. Minute 10, minute 11, minute 12, 12 full minutes without a tremor. A new record. Jason guided Uncle Albert back to his chair. The music stopped. The tremors returned, but Uncle Albert was radiant. Amy stopped the camera. 2 days later, Amy showed the video to Uncle Albert. She put it on a tablet, pressed play. Uncle Albert saw himself dancing. He saw himself standing, moving, without tremors. He wept. Amy, is that me? Yes, Uncle Albert, that's you, dancing, free. Uncle Albert watched the video 7 times that day, each time weeping, each time smiling, because Parkinson's had stolen his body, but not his spirit, and that video was the proof. The following months were the best of Uncle Albert's life. Every Friday, Amy, Fly Me to the Moon, 10 Minutes of Grace. Every Sunday, Jason, What a Wonderful World, 12 Minutes of Freedom. In January, Jason reduced his work schedule from 14 hours a day to 8 hours. He hired a co-CEO, someone to share the responsibilities. His friends told him, "You're crazy. You're letting the company slip away." Jason responded, "No, I'm finally grabbing what matters." In February, Dr. Thompson came for the monthly checkup. After examining Uncle Albert, he called Jason aside. "Mr. Miller, I don't know what you're doing, but Uncle Albert's vital signs are better than ever. His blood pressure is perfect. His heart rate is stable. Even his mobility has improved a little. Whatever you're doing, it's miraculous." Jason smiled. It's called love, Doctor, and it works better than any medicine. In March, Amy brought her children to meet Uncle Albert. Daniel, 24, Sophia, 22, Carlos, 19. Uncle Albert told them stories of airplanes, showed them photos of his work, told them about Rose. Amy's children listened, fascinated. When they left, Amy cried. "What's wrong, Amy?" Jason asked. Amy smiled through her tears. "My children never got to do this with my mum." She couldn't speak anymore when they were teenagers. But now they feel like they have a grandfather. Uncle Albert is giving them what my mum couldn't. Jason hugged Amy. "Your mom would be proud of you. I know. And I think she guided me here to help Uncle Albert, to teach you to close the circle." In April, on April 12th exactly, Uncle Albert said something to Jason. They were dancing. As time goes by, minute 9 of 12, "Jason, when I die, I want you to know something." "Uncle, don't talk like that. Listen to me. It's important. When I die, I want you to give everything I have to Amy." "What? No, Uncle. She doesn't expect anything." "I know. That's why she deserves everything. She gave me dignity. She gave me moments of freedom. She gave me back myself. That's priceless. But I want her to know that she was seen, that she mattered. Promise me." Jason nodded, weeping. "I promise you, Uncle." Uncle Albert smiled. "Good. Now dance with me. 3 minutes left." And they danced. On May 20th, Uncle Albert got sick. Pneumonia, a common complication in patients with advanced Parkinson's. He was hospitalized. Cedar-Sinai Hospital, floor 7, room 714. Jason canceled everything. He stayed at the hospital 24 hours a day. Amy arrived every morning, bringing flowers, music, talking to Uncle Albert even though he could barely respond. The doctors said his body is weak, the Parkinson's has advanced, the pneumonia is winning. Prepare yourselves. Jason didn't want to accept it, but he knew. On May 28th, Uncle Albert opened his eyes. He looked at Jason. "Jason, one last thing." "Anything, Uncle. I want to dance. One more time." "Uncle, you're in bed. You have tubes. You can't." Uncle Albert shook his head. "I don't need to stand. Just put on the music and hold my hands and move them like we're dancing." Jason looked at Amy. Amy nodded. Jason pulled out his phone. He put on "Fly Me to the Moon." He took Uncle Albert's hands and moved them gently to the rhythm of the music. Amy sang softly along with Frank Sinatra. Uncle Albert closed his eyes, a smile on his face. The tremors stopped. In the hospital bed, with tubes, with pneumonia, with Parkinson's stage 4, the tremors stopped. 5 minutes, 8 minutes, and 10 minutes. Uncle Albert opened his eyes. He looked at Jason. "Thank you, son, for these last months, for dancing with me, for seeing me. I love you, Uncle. I love you too. And tell Amy. Tell her she's an angel, that she gave this old man his life back." Amy wept. "I'm here, Uncle Albert." Uncle Albert turned towards her. "I know. You always were. Thank you." The music played on. Uncle Albert closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and smiled. And he was gone, peacefully, with music, with the people he loved, dancing in his mind until the last second. Uncle Albert Miller passed away on May 28th at 3:47 in the afternoon. 10 months after Amy started working, 10 months after Jason discovered what really matters, 10 months of dances, of grace, of love. The funeral was on May 31st, Forest Lawn Memorial Park, 2 p.m. 200 people arrived. Uncle Albert's colleagues, neighbors, old friends, Amy's children, Marisol, the dance instructor. Jason had hired a classic crooner like Frank Sinatra because Uncle Albert didn't want a sad funeral. He wanted music. They played "Fly Me to the Moon." What a wonderful world. As time goes by, Jason spoke. "My Uncle Albert was a brilliant man, an engineer, an airplane designer, a mentor, but what defined him most wasn't his mind. It was his heart. And in the last 10 months of his life, I learned that love isn't measured in years. It's measured in moments. And he had thousands of beautiful moments, especially when he was dancing. Jason looked at Amy. There's someone here who gave my uncle the greatest gift: dignity, presence, freedom. Amy Rogers. Without her, my uncle would have died months ago, not physically, but emotionally. Amy kept him alive. She kept him human. Thank you, Amy. Amy wept. After the funeral, Jason handed Amy an envelope. She opened it. Inside were documents. The last will and testament of Mr. Albert Miller to Amy Rogers. House in the Hamptons, valued at $3 million. Savings account, $800,000. Collection of books and photos. Personal note. Amy read the note. For Amy. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Thank you for bringing me back to myself. Thank you for those 10 minutes of freedom every Friday. Thank you for seeing Rose in me when no one else could. This house is where Rose and I spent our summers, where we danced on the patio, where we were happiest. I want it to be yours, so you and your children can have peace, because you gave me peace. With eternal love, Mr. Albert Miller. Amy fell to her knees, sobbing. Jason knelt beside her. He wanted her to know that she was seen, that she mattered, that she changed his life. Amy couldn't speak. She just wept, and Jason wept with her. If you're listening to this and have super thanks activated, that golden heart below this video, use it now, because there are people in the world like Amy, doing miracles in silence, giving love without expecting anything. And they deserve to be seen. They deserve to be honored. Use it now, but this story doesn't end with death. It ends with life, because what Jason and Amy learned changed more than just their own lives. It changed the lives of thousands. Today, November 2024, 18 months after Mr. Albert Miller's death, Amy Rogers still works with the Miller family, not as an employee, as a director of the Dance With Me program, a program created by Jason in honor of his Uncle Albert. Music therapy for patients with Parkinson's disease. Amy trains caregivers. She teaches them not only how to care for bodies, but how to care for souls. She teaches them to keep blue notebooks, to document, to observe. She teaches them to play music, to dance, to give 10 minutes of grace. In 18 months, the program has helped 127 Parkinson's patients, 127 people who now have Fridays of freedom, 127 families who learned that presence is better than busy absence. Amy now earns $45,000 a month, triple what she earned before. But she doesn't do it for the money. She does it because she knows that Parkinson's has no cure, but she knows that love can bring moments of miracle. Her children now live in the house in the Hamptons. They study, they work, they thrive, and every weekend, Amy goes to the Hamptons. She walks on the patio where Mr. Albert and Rose danced, and she smiles because she closed the circle. She couldn't save her mother, but she saved Mr. Albert, and now she's saving 127 more. Jason Miller no longer works 14 hours a day. He works 8 hours, 5 days a week. Weekends are sacred, for family, for life. He founded the Dance With Me Foundation. Initial donation, $20 million. The foundation funds music therapy for Parkinson's in 8 hospitals. It trains 40 therapists a year, provides sound equipment and music for 200 patients. Jason visits hospitals every Sunday, not to give money, to dance. He dances with patients who have no family, who are alone. He gives them 10 minutes of grace, and every time he dances, he thinks of Uncle Albert, and he smiles because he finally understood. Money buys medicine, but love gives life. Jason is no longer just a CEO. He's a dancer. He's a present nephew. He's a human being, and that's worth more than any contract. Marisol, the dance instructor, now works with the Dance With Me Foundation. She teaches relatives of Parkinson's patients how to dance for free because she saw what dancing did for Mr. Albert, and she wants others to experience the same. In 18 months, she's taught 89 relatives to dance with their loved ones. 89 people who now give 10 minutes of freedom each week. Dr. Thompson now recommends music therapy to all his Parkinson's patients. He witnessed the change in Mr. Albert, and although science can't explain it completely, he knows it works. He's referred 43 patients to the Dance With Me program, and the results are undeniable. Less depression, better mobility, more dignity. Amy's Blue Notebook was published, well, an edited version. It's called 90 Days of Dancing, How Music Restored Dignity to a Man with Parkinson's. It's a manual for caregivers, for families. It documents every day, every discovery, every small miracle. It has sold 12,000 copies. All the money goes to the Dance With Me Foundation. Amy didn't want to keep anything because for her, it was never about money. It was about love. Mrs. Lewis, the neighbor, is now a volunteer with the program. She visits Parkinson's patients, brings them flowers, keeps them company because she saw what company did for Mr. Albert, and she wants to give the same. She's 69 years old, and she says it's the most important work she's ever done in her life. The video of Jason dancing with Mr. Albert, the one Amy recorded on December 16th, Jason has it on his phone. He watches it every night before he sleeps, not to be sad, but to remember. To remember that he had the opportunity to change, and he took it. To remember that his uncle died happy, not just existing. To remember that 10 minutes of presence are worth more than 10 years of absence. Mr. Albert's ashes were scattered in the garden of the house in the Hamptons, next to Rose's ashes, in the place where they danced every Sunday. Now they're together again, dancing in the wind. Every year on May 28th, the anniversary of Mr. Albert's death, Jason and Amy go to the Hamptons. They play music on the patio, and they dance, not with Mr. Albert, but for Mr. Albert, to honor him, to remember him. This year, 2024, 47 people came, relatives of patients in the program, caregivers, therapists. Everyone danced. At last, Fly Me to the Moon, The Way You Look Tonight, and for 10 minutes, the spirit of Mr. Albert was there, smiling because his legacy wasn't airplanes, it was love. It was teaching a millionaire that time is the real luxury. It was teaching an employee that her work changed lives. It was teaching thousands that Parkinson's can take the body, but not the spirit. And it was teaching the world that 10 minutes of love can be worth more than a lifetime of indifference. So, you who are listening to this, if you have someone in your life who is struggling, who is suffering, who is trapped in their own body, don't give them money, don't give them pity, give them time, presence, connection. Ask them what music they loved, what made them happy, what they miss, and give them 10 minutes. 10 minutes where the world disappears. 10 minutes where they are themselves again. 10 minutes of grace. Because those 10 minutes, they might just be the miracle you never knew you could give. And if this story touched your heart, if it made you see things a little differently, that subscribe button is there for a reason. Not just for me to grow, but so that more people can hear stories just like this one. Stories that remind us that being human isn't about how much you earn, but about how much you give. Subscribe, share, comment below. Has a small gesture ever changed your life? Because we need more souls like Amy Rogers in this world, people who give without expecting anything in return, who love without measure, who see without judgment, and maybe, just maybe, you can be that person for someone else. This is the story of a millionaire, Jason Miller, who saw his employee dancing with her Uncle Albert, who had Parkinson's, and the Tremors. They stopped for 10 minutes. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's the story of how love is stronger than any illness, of how presence is more valuable than any amount of money, and of how just 10 minutes can change an entire life. Thank you for listening. And remember, if you can dance with someone today, do it, because you never know when it will be the last time. Dance.